Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're diving into a truly haunting narrative that bridges the gap between chilling supernatural folklore and deep, lingering psychological trauma. We're unpacking a story that asks us to look at the incredibly heavy and honestly terrifying cost of doing absolutely nothing. It's a gripping tale sourced from a popular Hindi horror narrative. We've distilled it down to its most crucial, spine-tingling elements so we can really understand the anatomy of a curse, and maybe, more importantly, the anatomy of guilt.
So can a single moment of inaction curse your entire bloodline? This is the core question anchoring our entire explainer today. We spend a lot of time thinking about the terrible things people actively do to one another, right? But what about the things they just fail to do? What happens when you look the other way when someone is in desperate need? Well, in the universe of this story, that single moment of hesitation doesn't just fade into the past. It violently infects the future.
Section 1. A family torn apart.
We're starting our analysis in the present day, thrust right into the absolute middle of a family's worst nightmare. We meet Raj, a young man who is mysteriously clinging to life in a hospital coma. His mother, Sumadeha, is paralyzed by despair, and his brand new wife, Swati, is just trying to make sense of this sudden, massive tragedy. The doctors are completely baffled. Medical science literally has no answers for them. And what makes this situation so incredibly heartbreaking is the number 8. Raj and Swati have only been married for 8 days. What's supposed to be the most joyous week of their lives has instantly morphed into a desperate fight for survival. That stark contrast, a vibrant wedding fading immediately into the sterile hum of hospital machines, perfectly sets the stage for the darkness that's about to unfold.
Section 2. Nightmares and dark shadows.
Because as it turns out, the hospital monitors aren't the only things haunting this family. Samega goes back to her grand ancestral home and starts experiencing some impossible things. The sheer stress of her son's coma is manifesting into physical terror. She sees a dark, menacing shadow lurking in the hallways. And in this truly cinematic moment of horror, she actually watches the shadowy entity look right at her before throwing itself off the mansion's balcony. And she is definitely not the only one suffering. The young bride, Swati, is plagued by this frantic, breathless nightmare. She dreams of running endlessly through a dark field, just completely out of breath, being chased by a towering figure with long nails and a terrifying face. The sensory details here are absolutely crucial. This isn't just a basic ghost story, it's a feeling of absolute suffocating dread. She wakes up screaming for her life, telling her mother-in-law that the shadow was going to consume her.
Hearing Swati's nightmare makes Sumeda's face turn completely pale, and this marks a brilliant turning point in our narrative because Sumeda utters this chilling quote, "That shadow, just like its color, is our dark past." She knows exactly what this dark entity represents. This isn't some random haunting, it's a targeted, vengeful force. The ghost isn't just a monster in the closet, it is the physical embodiment of a deeply buried family secret.
Section 3. The Dark Secret Revealed. To understand the shadow terrorizing them today, we have to rewind the clock. We need to peel back the layers of Sumeda's memory to a night that literally changed everything. We're jumping 25 years into the past. It's a stormy night, and a young Sumeda goes into sudden labor with Raj. Her servants are frantically driving her through this blinding rain toward the hospital. Then the inciting incident happens, a terrible collision on a pitch-dark road, followed by the terrible choice to flee the scene. You can draw a direct line from that stormy night to the present day, where Raj now lies in a coma. The past and the present are violently crashing into one another. Let's break down this fatal incident step by step, because the actual mechanics of this moral failure are fascinating. First, you have the extreme weather forcing them into a panicked drive. Then, unable to see, the driver hits a woman on the road. The third step is the absolute pivot point. The servant, Bahadur, and the driver straight up refuse to get out and help. They are terrified because they're in an unfamiliar area, and they actually believe the locals will burn them alive if they're caught having hit someone. Finally, Sumeda, heavily pregnant and in a ton of pain, asks them to help, but when they refuse, she doesn't force them. They drive away, abandoning a woman who tragically was also pregnant. Now, it's super easy to judge from the comfort of where we sit today. But what would you have done? Imagine you are in agonizing labor. Your servants are terrified of a mob. It's pitch black and it's pouring rain. Do you risk your own life and your unborn child's life to help a stranger your car just hit? It's a profound moral dilemma. But in the harsh rules of this universe, survival at the cruel expense of another demands a devastating toll. Section 4. The Deadly Curse Unleashed. Sumedha makes it to the hospital and gives birth to Raj safely. But the woman they left behind on the road, she and her unborn child died in the mud, and her angry spirit attached itself to Sumedha's family immediately. Almost as soon as Sumedha brought baby Raj home 25 years ago, the supernatural signs escalated rapidly. We're talking phantom baby cries echoing through the halls late at night, a black cat sitting at their door weeping, which is a massive omen of doom. Desperate, she called a pujari, a local priest, who gave her a dire warning. The angry spirit of the dead mother was coming for her child. The priest managed to bind the spirit to the house, ordering Sumedha to flee the village forever. But as they fled, the curse took its first blood. Out of nowhere, a massive mango tree suddenly collapsed, crushing Sumedha's husband to death instantly.
So the absolutely crucial question is, why is the spirit attacking Raj right now, 25 years later? Well, it's because Raj, who is utterly unaware of his family's dark history, stubbornly insisted on visiting his ancestral village with his new bride, Swati. By crossing the threshold back into that cursed territory, he inadvertently broke the magical seal the priest had placed decades ago. He literally walked right back into the waiting arms of the vengeful ghost.
Section 5. Confronting the Vengeful Spirit. This brings us right back to the present day. With Raj in a coma, Sumedha tries to flee the house to find a priest to save him, but the ghost is done waiting. As Sumedha gets into her car, the vehicle takes on a life of its own, slamming into a wall and trapping her. The driver flees in terror, leaving Sumedha face to face with the entity. And this is where the narrative becomes incredibly compelling. You have Sumedha, a mother desperate to save her living son from death, pitted directly against the spirit, a mother utterly consumed by grief for the unborn child she lost on that cold, wet road. The ghost explicitly tells Sumedha, "You left me to watch my child die. Now you will watch your bloodline end." It's a terrifying, tragic mirror image of maternal desperation. Just as the spirit is about to exact her final revenge, the new bride, Swati, steps in. But Swati doesn't fight the ghost. She doesn't yell or try to banish her. Instead, she listens. She realizes the spirit isn't just a monster. It's a grieving mother trapped in a horrific cycle of pain. So Swati offers this incredible promise. "If you return my husband safely, I promise we will perform Shraddha so you can attain liberation." For a little context here, Shraddha refers to traditional Hindu rituals performed for deceased ancestors to ensure their souls find peace and transcend to the afterlife. Swati realizes that fighting the ghosts with magic or force just won't work. The spirit needs acknowledgement, respect, and a clear pathway to peace. By offering empathy, Swati disarms a curse that violence and fear had only fed for 25 years. Section 6. Redemption and the Moral. And you know what? Swati's profound empathy actually works. The spirit's anger dissolves in the face of finally being heard and respected. The supernatural arc concludes cleanly right here. The curse is lifted, and Raj miraculously wakes from his coma and returns home. True to their word, the family immediately performs the extensive Shraddha rituals, honoring the woman and the baby they wronged, and the spirit is finally released from her earthly torment, achieving ultimate liberation. The paranormal threat is entirely neutralized. But our explainer doesn't end with a perfectly neat bow, because the true horror is the heavy burden of our own guilt. Even though her son is safe and the ghost is gone, Sumedha is forever changed. The source material emphasizes that she spends the rest of her life agonizing over that one night. If only she had forced her servants to put the injured woman in the car. If only she had just acted. Yes, she saved her son, but she lost her husband and lived 25 years in a shadow of terror, all because of a single failure to act. It's a fascinating narrative that brilliantly uses supernatural folklore to illustrate a very real, very human psychological truth about guilt and responsibility. Which leaves us with this final thought for you to ponder today. We constantly worry about the mistakes we make, the things we do wrong, but when you look back at your own life, which of your inactions will haunt you the most? Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this incredible story. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.